Hey, here with TheEZGZ. I thought maybe I would document some of this stuff before I ripped into it. This little tab here, this tab was sticking up. There was one here and there was one here. Nothing attached to it. Doesn't do anything. It's just an eyesore as far as I'm concerned. Like these things here, I can't imagine what these were for. It's a bolt, and it has a hole in it, and it's welded to the frame, and it has another one right across from it, right here, and a third one up here, and then this one's up a little higher, and I can't imagine what that was for. Now, the ones on this side look like there's even like a little bushing or something. You can see this one here. I don't know what that setup was for. I don't know what that could have been for. I know it was popular in the Baja race cars and stuff. They used to carry spare tires and, you know, like a jack and some different things up there in the top of the car behind them. So maybe that's what that was. Maybe that's why all this stuff is gusseted up so heavy, but they're not doing anything now, and to me it just creates a visual eyesore. So I decided here a few moments ago that rather than mix, you know, coming up with, this is too cool of a spot right here to have like a little storage area to put like a toolbox or a shelf or something and carry some spare tools and a couple quarts of oil, different odds and ends that you want to take out with you. Uh-oh, somebody's backing up. So at any rate, I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to cut those off. Where the old oil cooler was, I'm going to cut that off. I was going to do something similar in a different way down here lower, but it really interferes with accessibility through here because the way this thing is, it's too busy. To me, it just looks too busy. There's too many pipes and too many angles, and some people might like that. For me, it's just extra weight. I kind of want to short back it. If I could get into this right up here and clean that out, if I could just make that go away. But see how this one is. This one was here first, and they attached this one to that one. So it's like, nah, that ain't gonna work. On my past cars, I stopped it right here. I didn't have any piping behind the car, and to me, boy, it's tempting. See how they did these flanges here, like muffler clamps or whatever you know want to call them here. So you could remove this, and I thought to myself, well, here's a good spot to terminate it right here, and maybe, you know, put another one up here. That way, if you for some reason wanted to put it on later, you could. I don't know. I'm at that turning point here. It's like I got to decide what exactly I want to do. Maybe what I'll do is start by cutting this stuff off and get it out of here, and then I'll have a better idea of how it's going to turn out. Here, for me, on a visual thing, if you're going to have a round tube frame, you need to make your supports with round stuff. You don't want to start throwing flat stock and angle iron and all that sort of stuff in there. It depends. If it's just a little bit of it in a critical spot where it looks like it's absolutely necessary with a function, then fine. But I think I'm going to go with I'm going to try a stock doghouse cooler with the factory stock oil cooler. That eliminates some of this mess. I think I'm going to lower this. This is just kind of too high, and it's in a rollover situation. That's going to go. So I might be able to come up with something a little bit different on that as well. All right, 3 hours later. Oh my gosh, we got uncluttered. I think that just is so much cleaner to just see the bare pipes. I just almost hate to put that oil cooler back up there. I might not. All I gotta do is put the stock one on. That way, yeah. First I cut it off with a disc, then I ground it down, and then I finished it off with hand files, and then sander. Get all the shit all over everything I was trying to keep it off of. Yeah. Now, this is just free space. I don't like that box. That's going to go away eventually. But this would make nice little storage space. Oh boy, is this fun or what? I don't know if I look as bad as I feel, but I'm going to go in and take a shower, have some lunch, and take a nap before my next yoga class at 4:30. It's a 2-hour yoga class too. This lady usually rips us apart, I'm telling you. But if it wasn't for doing the yoga, my arthritis would be so bad I would not be able to do these things that I was doing. Man, I was like a monkey. I should have put the camera on, but I was just in it, you know. I was standing on the tires and on the frame, and that's one of the deluxe things of having a beater buggy, so to speak, is, you know, can you imagine if you had a powder-coated frame, or you had a nice automotive paint frame where it was just, you know, perfect. I guarantee you, if you wanted to add something or change something, unless you were good at that sort of stuff, or a lot of people farm that stuff out, but you know, every little flaw, every little scratch, do you want to throw a tarp over it and bungee it down and have a roaring wind come along and have your paint scratched up? Man, there's so many pluses to, like I said, you know, having a beater desert car as opposed to a tricked out, you know, expensive, high dollar. Man, what a busy day. What a busy day. I've been crack-a-lacking. I took a little fan shroud off, and I put a stock doghouse tin fan shroud, and I think we're going to go with that. That way I get to eliminate the oil filters, the oil cooler, any cross bracing. It fit in there just fine. I painted a hammered silver or gray, something like that, I don't know. And I left the aluminum lower tins on there. Those seem to be doing a good job, and everything fit, and the air will just come out of the stock oil cooler out to the back of the car. That cleaned up a lot of stuff. And now I've got I still got to mount the seats. I still got to finish a little back bracket here. Battery. Yeah, I got tons of work to do. I'll turn you back on later. I wasn't going to get into the electrical, but this is crazy. All this is all stuff that's going away. I did declutter. I wasn't going to do it because the brakes were working fine, and I thought when I decide to add a cutter brake to this thing, then I will clean up that brake line. But everything is so accessible now, and it wasn't before, and it's such a pain in the neck to, you know, expose everything. And I got the tools out, so I reran the brake line. That one that was all wadded up going back and forth, I was able to straighten that out. It took some time. I haven't used a lot of new material on this other than that fuel pump, but I got the line straightened out. I moved the brake switch that was up there in front. You had extra wire coming down here, and I put the brake switch here in the back. Got extra stuff in the way. I got the seat mounted. Had to come up with this brace over here. Got these quick connect seat belts and shoulder harnesses with sewn on pads. That's going to work out good for me. The ergonomics are right. The shifter is a little too far forward. Man, these Jamar shifters just have a long throw. They are not like a race car shifter, quick shifter. I don't really understand it, but I guess you definitely know what gear you're in. There's no question about that. Electrical, I wasn't going to get into that because that was working fine too, even though I did blow that one fuse. But as you can see, this has turned into a kind of a rat's nest, and I'd like to eliminate all of that. That's on today's project as well. So I got a lot to do today. let's see. Yeah, that was sitting in a big box over here above the starting motor. I did not like that. I got rid of a lot of the hoses and stuff back there. No sense repeating that. What else did I find? I cut that pipe off that was in the front. I was thinking about trying to reduce some of the entanglement up here, and I don't know. You know, I have a spare old aluminum front beam. One of the shock towers broke and I had it repaired, but I replaced it with a new one rather than put it back in service. And I've got some aluminum spindle mount wheels, end tires that came with the car. I could put those on that axle, but I don't know. The larger diameter tires are kind of cool, and I don't want to spend from where I've started. I really haven't spent money on this thing. It's all been done with parts that I've had on hand and things that I've been able to do to the car itself. The side pods are definitely going back on. I didn't realize how easy those were to take on and off, and they give you some nice storage. I really like this seat arrangement because there's going to be a little space around the seats, and you can put a lot of stuff in an area like this, underneath your seat and in behind your seat. I might take that original aluminum metal that was in the back and, you know, just come up like 12 inches or something and run a little piece that's easily removable. All the holes would line up because I still, you know, or use it for a pattern. But that would sort of keep things from falling out over in the back. But I really like all this accessibility that I've gained here. Let's see, there was something with the throttle that I changed. I just untangled all of that stuff that was in here, put new fuel lines on. Bleeding the brakes was, I just used a bungee cord. Excuse me. I just take a bungee cord and do the brake bleeding myself. It's a lot easier than communicating with a neighbor or friend or some stranger to just, you know, push down on when to let up. I put tension on the bungee cord as if you were pushing it down, and then I go back to the brake bleeders or clutch, whatever I'm doing, and then I come back up and I just manually pull the recock it, come back. That way I can keep an eye on my fluid. Sucking it and blowing it, those are also great ways, but this kind of works for me too, and that's the way I did it. What else can I say? No sense. I will definitely post up a video once we get her finished up. I was going to move the lights down, but there's no time. I have really struggled. This came out pretty good as far as moving all those bolts and tabs. It came out pretty clean. I really like how that rounded. I didn't gouge out the pipe or mess up the integrity of the pipe. And I thought maybe I should just cut all of this out. I don't know, this is probably a light tab, but things that might impair your vision. This whole bar, boy, I just, you know, makes it for so difficult to jump in and out of. It would make it so much easier, but it just goes with the original car. It's part of the Funko design, and I think, you know, as I'm looking at the car, and I want to redo this tangled up front end. I think it's way overbuilt. I think part of the problem is because it had real heavy parts on the front end that it's trying to control. I don't think that Weekend Warrior steel front end was the original front end. I think this thing did some real headers. I wish it could talk because it's been repaired so many times by the previous owner, and who knows how many years before that. This thing's probably 50 years old. I know this was added, and that's not a bad feature. Getting all that sheet metal off the floor and out of the way, that was to me a big improvement. As it's getting towards the fall part of the year, I may regret doing that because it's going to be drafty in there for sure. This foot assembly is all steel. I don't think that's really necessary. I could come up with something different on that. The floor, I like expanded metal floors, and one of the mistakes I think people do is on these solid floors is they put them up tight to the pipe, and by doing that, if you just were to space your brackets down to give yourself a gap here, a 1/4 of an inch gap is all you need. I don't think you're going to sacrifice. Of course, you have strength by having it in contact with a pipe, but it traps all the dirt and sand and rocks inside the compartment there. If you leave yourself a little space, then the stuff can fall out. Or in the very least, like in the corners, if you make like a 1.5 or 2 inch hole, as you're going around, things will fall out. I know one of my cars, I did it this way with the solid floor, and you'd be parked at an angle, and it looked like one of those, what do you call the timers, the clocks with the sand dials, where you turn it up and down, because there'd be sand coming out in a couple different places. So there's a little bit of a gap here in the back, but I've got to add some bolts in there, and I've got a lot to do. I better get after it. And I was going to say, here's another bar that I could probably eliminate. That'd be a lot of grinding to do, a lot of care given. And no matter what you do to this thing, you've got to figure that I could convert it to complete looking bare frame sand rail, but that really is going to change the spirituality of the project here. And I like to keep it authentic and as the old Funko car that it is, and just be using it on the sand and enjoying it for what it is. And I don't have to be the lightest, fastest go-getter out there trying to be top dog. I may want to add that turbo, but turbos are hard transmissions, and I've got this close ratio transmission to build, and that really improves the handling and performance of any car that you put it in of this type. And I might just build another car. This is what it is. I might just strip everything off of it and build a new frame from scratch. This an ultralight frame the way I want to build it, rather than adapting to this frame. But like I said from the very beginning, I want to give this thing a chance and really see what it can do. And to be quite frankly with you, it kind of gives me a little escape clause in my riding ability, because the cars have gotten so fast and so powerful, and all these long travel and mid travel designs that are out there that I don't really approve of. But I really haven't been on any big sand, so I'm not sure how much that has changed. We got Labor Day weekend coming up, and I was hoping to be on some big sand someplace and just looking at everybody else's stuff and enjoying it, and meeting some new folks. That's always fun. So having the old car, old school, and being an old driver, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, I'm an old guy out there on the sand struggling to keep up, but as long as I'm having fun, I don't have to be the first guy anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times guys will just want you to lead anyhow because they don't want to drive that hard, and they don't want to think that hard, and it's a lot easier to follow than it is to lead, and a lot less wear and tear on the equipment, let me tell you.